Let me say something that might quietly bother you at first. If quantum manifestation were actually difficult, if it were complicated, technical, or reserved for a few gifted people, then the fact that most people don't experience it would make sense. We could shrug and say, well, of course, not everyone can do this. Difficulty would explain the failure. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is stranger than that. Quantum manifestation is simple. Not easy, not instant, not effortless, but simple. And that's precisely why almost nobody does it. Because simplicity doesn't feel like progress. It doesn't feel like you're earning anything. It doesn't give the mind a checklist or the ego a sense of accomplishment. There's no visible struggle to point at and say, see, I'm working on it. And most people are deeply attached to the idea that if something matters, it should hurt a little, or at least feel heavy, or at least require effort. So, when manifestation doesn't work the way they expect, they don't ask whether they're overcomplicating it. They assume they're missing something, another technique, another mindset, another layer of healing, and that assumption quietly keeps them trapped. Most people aren't confused about manifestation. They're tired. They've tried affirmations that felt fake in their mouth, visualizations that felt hollow, methods that worked for a few days and then collapsed back into the same old reality. And somewhere along the way, a subtle doubt forms. Not just doubt in manifestation, but doubt in themselves. Maybe I'm blocked. Maybe I'm not aligned. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And that doubt becomes the loudest signal they send out, even while they're saying all the right words. The problem isn't that manifestation doesn't work. The problem is that most people are trying to use it from the wrong level of reality. They treat it like a mechanical process. Do this and get that. Think this and reality changes. Say the right words often enough and the universe responds. But quantum reality doesn't work like a machine. It works like a field. And fields don't respond to commands. They respond to resonance. You can't force resonance. You can only stop disrupting it. This is where things start to feel uncomfortable because most of us are addicted to control. We want to control outcomes, timing, form. We want guarantees. We want to know that if we do X for long enough, Y will arrive. So we turn manifestation into a system because systems feel safe, predictable, logical. But the quantum field isn't impressed by effort. It doesn't respond to intensity. It mirrors consistency. And effort in this context often signals doubt. Think about it honestly. You don't struggle to believe your name. You don't work hard to trust gravity. You don't affirm that your phone will turn on or that the sun will rise tomorrow. You're relaxed about those things because they're settled inside you. Effort appears where certainty is missing. So when someone says they've been manifesting for years with no results, what they're often doing, without realizing it, is reinforcing the identity of someone who is still waiting, still almost there, still preparing, still becoming. And the quantum field reflects that state faithfully. There's another layer here that most people don't want to look at. It's quieter, but it matters more. Most people don't fully trust themselves. They want to. They say they do. But their inner behavior tells a different story. They're constantly checking for signs, constantly asking for reassurance, constantly wondering if they're doing it right. That constant checking is a form of self-betrayal. It's saying, I don't trust my own state to be enough. And the field listens to that more than it listens to words. Wanting, in this context, becomes a trap. Wanting feels innocent. Of course you want better things. Of course you want growth, peace, love, stability. But wanting is not neutral. Wanting places you psychologically before the thing, before the money, before the relationship, before the freedom. And when before becomes your emotional home, reality keeps you there, not as punishment, as alignment. The field stabilizes around what's consistent. This is where many people quietly pull back because they realize something unsettling. It's not just that manifestation requires patience, it requires an identity shift. And that's scary. Because if nothing changes, maybe it's not the universe withholding, maybe it's you holding on. Holding on to familiar tension, familiar struggle, familiar waiting. Simplicity threatens that identity. If manifestation is simple, then there's nothing to hide behind. No missing technique, no timing excuse, no spiritual performance. Just your state. And looking honestly at your state requires courage. There's also a subtle addiction embedded in spiritual culture. The addiction to becoming, always healing, always improving, always upgrading the self, always not quite there yet. Growth is natural, but obsession with becoming keeps you from arriving, and quantum manifestation doesn't respond to becoming. It responds to being calm enough, being settled enough, being honest enough. That's why people overconsume manifestation content, not because they need more information, but because information feels like movement without risk. It feels like doing something without actually changing their internal posture. But alignment doesn't happen in information. It happens in silence. And silence scares people because in silence there's nowhere to hide from your actual state. Here's the part that changes everything, and it's almost boring in its simplicity. Quantum manifestation works when you stop interfering with yourself. That's it. You're not broken. You're not blocked. You're not missing anything. You're just noisy inside. And noise distorts the signal. The first real shift happens not when you try to manifest, but when your nervous system settles. Not excitement, not hype. Safety. A calm body sends a clear signal. An anxious body sends static. You can't manifest clarity from chaos. This is why forced positivity doesn't work. Most positivity is just fear pretending to be confident. Instead of asking how to feel good, the real question is how to stop resisting the moment you're already in. Neutral presence is powerful. Stability is magnetic. Then something strange happens. When you stop pushing emotionally, the desire starts to feel lighter, less urgent, less like it defines your worth. And that's when it becomes reachable. The desire doesn't disappear. It just stops feeling like a rescue mission. It stops feeling like proof that you're finally okay. Because the moment an outcome feels like it will save you, you've made yourself dependent on it. And dependence distorts frequency. Quantum manifestation reflects self-sufficiency, not arrogance, not indifference, just inner steadiness. When you're okay without the outcome can arrive, not as a reward, as a mirror. This is also why timelines slow things down. Asking when is a quiet admission of mistrust. It says, I don't trust this state yet, and mistrust stretches time. The moment urgency dissolves, things begin moving. Quietly, naturally, often faster than you expect, but without drama. And that's why almost nobody does this. Because it doesn't look like effort, it doesn't look impressive, there's no visible struggle to point to. It requires trusting your own internal alignment more than external reassurance. It asks you to let go of struggle as identity. And here's the part nobody warns you about. When manifestation finally works, you might miss the moment it starts, because it doesn't feel magical. It feels normal, obvious, like, yeah, of course this happened. There's no shock, no disbelief, just a sense of quiet rightness. You stop checking, you stop waiting, you stop asking. And reality fills the space, not because you demanded it, but because you finally stopped resisting it. Quantum manifestation is simple, not because it's easy, but because it asks you to stop doing what never worked, to stop performing, to stop proving, to stop becoming, and just arrive. Most people walk right past that doorway because it doesn't look like effort. But if you're still here, still listening, something in you already knows. This was never about attracting a new life. It was about allowing the one that's already aligned to step forward. And that begins the moment you stop trying to make it happen.